Welcome to Climate Academy, the series of online climate talks with top scientists and UN negotiators. This is an independent education initiative that aims to better explain the idea of interconnection and the importance of global collaboration for climate change adaptation. Let's welcome our very special guest today, Dr. Takeshi Takama.
Hello, I'm Takesh from Indonesia.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Dr. Takama is an associate at Stockholm Environment Institute, also visiting professor at Udayana University in Bali, Indonesia, and the CEO of Sureko. Dr. Takama, over to you with some questions. I see it's very nice and warm in Bali. In Europe, we have snowstorms and floods. But let me go to the first question, Dr. Takama. Is it possible to solve environmental problems based on scientific analysis? Could you share some examples related to climate change adaptation solutions?
Yeah, it's possible. If possible, not possible, it's possible. And scientific information is important because some practice, if you're not doing scientifically, you might doing good things, but actually not so good. For example, everyone switch on, off, right at the same time. It's actually affect more electric generation. So same things like if we want to install the dam. I mean, this actually is the case in Africa. I think if you install a dam to reserve the water, but if the place there's no water at all, no precipitation at all, it's actually the maladaptation because and you just waste of the resource. Yeah, so it's science. It's more accurately, it's science will help to solve this problem. In fact, we actually work, but science improves the solution.
Do we have any models that we can rely on, like economic models, for instance, to measure certain things?
I mean, even SDGs. SDGs, how to achieve the SDGs.
SDGs, you mean Sustainable Development Goals?
Yes, Sustainable Development Goal. There is a report stating how they calculate. I mean, it's quite a subjective judgment. However, the result contains some trueness inside. So, I mean, you cannot rely on 100%. I mean, you cannot, even Corona, we could not predict. But those economic model or report have some trueness inside. So, for example, in SDG achievement, I think last one shows that in Asia, I think the SDG achievement is moving faster than any other region. So, I mean, this is very subjective judgment, but still, has a trueness inside. So, like Africa is very slow. So maybe Africa needs more support, for example. So this helps.
What kind of support do you mean? Is it financial support or is it scientific support? What do you mean?
You have to read through the report, but generally speaking, Africa achievement of SDG is slower than Asia, for example. So, if even the budget allocation, maybe, you may spend more money for Africa, or even technical cooperation, like maybe the water issue, which country more achieving, not achieving. So this, it's not, may not be actually not super accurate. It's not a prediction, but the report is work as an indicator. So it's again, science helps to solve this problem more efficiently, but you have to work on that.
So it's good to use science because it indicates direction we go, and it's good to work hand in hand with policymakers. You've mentioned sustainable development goals. There are 17 goals. at the 2030 agenda. Climate change is one of them. May I ask you about impacts of climate change in Bali that the island experienced in the last 10 years? Bali, Indonesia, this is your location. How many years have you been now in Bali?
10 years. 10
right.
Years.
And am I right that you worked on vulnerability, climate change vulnerability of the Bali island? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this is my original work. This was I did during the time I worked as a Japan International Cooperation Agency. So development agency of Japan, just like DFID or ADB or USAID. So this we assess the vulnerability of rice farmer. That time, so we check the soil characteristic and the climate and then farmers' capability. And then Bali is getting drier, and also the water usage is higher than other regions because of the tourism. Before Corona, tourism used lots of water. So even the national communication, second national communication of Indonesia, Bali was mentioned as the most vulnerable in terms of water scarcity.
So issues such as water and that's the case for Bali.
Yeah, water would be I would say the most significant issue, I think, in Bali.
So when Bali is getting drier, do you also have heavy rain? I remember from Bali that you also have heavy rain seasons. Is there any correlation between this and, for instance, lack of infrastructure and floods?
Yeah, I mean, flood is more. I mean, it's a. Yeah, it's flood also may affect. I'm sorry, correlation with.
Climate change?
Climate change. I mean, it's difficult to say because I mean, to be honest, I mean, the Bali has a bigger more variability coming from other effects. For example, El Nino and La Nina condition. So this year is La Nina, so it had lots of rain. So this impact more, but this more predictable. And also, but if we know this climate, how you treat this climate change issue, but if you look at the trend, I mean, it's become lower. I mean, precipitation generally lower, even. So, for example, even the El Nino season, it's less water in Bali. So this climate change will even lower the water availability. But at the same time, you know, this vulnerability, as you know, that is not only the climate issue. So we have to understand the whole issue more holistically, because if more hotels in the agriculture area, they pump more waters, so they even induce more water scarcity issues. So yeah, climate change issue is a part of a bigger picture, and you have to work on many other issues, but climate change will set the direction a bit more stronger. So in the case of Bali, it will be more lower water availability.
Yes, thank you for that explanation. Let me move to third question, which is related to very interesting project that what I've read you were part of. I'll give you a little bit of a background. Around 30% of global food supply is lost or wasted each year. And in 2010 alone, the US produced roughly 133 billion pounds, or let's say 66.5 million tons of food waste, primarily from residential and commercial food sector. This is just one of example, but with 100 tons of food waste per day, we can generate enough energy to power 800 to 1,400 homes each year. What is biogas? Because I'm talking about biogas, and how the biogas could lower costs associated with waste management. Can you give us some examples, please?
Yeah, biogas is a form of compost. So this is a waste management system. So as a result, you get the biogas, which you can use similar to LPG or natural gas. Another byproduct is bioslurry, which is a liquid organic fertilizer. So nothing will be wasted. So at the end, there is no waste which you dump into the dumping area. So for the waste, in terms of waste management, yeah, it lowers this treating the waste. But also you get even benefit if you in some place you even produce electricity. Large biogas, you can even produce electricity at the town level, or even if it's off-grid factory, then many factory actually produce energy. So it's not a cost, it's actually some place, in some countries even benefit.
So it's a circular economy. We just basically use what we waste to produce energy.
Yeah, also not only energy, it's work as a organic fertilizer. So you spend less money for the organic chemical fertilizer, because you have a fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, so you need to buy the chemical fertilizer. And chemical fertilizer is one of the biggest source of greenhouse gas emission in agriculture sector. So this will also lower the emission from agriculture sector.
So that's an interesting concept that local communities could benefit from. Can you give us any example that such solution was used?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gave a biogas digester to the rural farmers. So
Is it in Bali? Farmers in Bali?
In Bali, also other islands as well, called Flores, where we also buy coffee. So they, if they use that biogas digester, as I explained, they don't need to spend money for the chemical fertilizer. So they can save money. That also depends on the amount of gas they produce, but also they can also reduce the purchase of LPG, which is a kind of the government focus to providing clean energy in rural area. But also this, it's heavily subsidized. Also this still, fossil fuel, this is not a renewable energy. So
how long have you been collaborating with coffee farmers for?
Yeah, this is we start. Collaboration start maybe 2016. We start the first biogas was installed 2017. So we purchased coffee, cacao since 2019. So we also do the climate fuel school with the Indonesia Meta office. So this will be, yeah, last 2 years we also do the climate fuel school.
Let me ask you a question about climate change education in Indonesia, because you've been in Indonesia for such a long time, even though you're from Japan. Perhaps you'd like to share actually two perspectives, Japanese as your nationality, and Indonesian. How is, because this is what younger generation that ourselves is pushing for in Europe, is to have a common education for climate change education in schools. They want to include climate change education in schools, and I'm wondering how this is solved in Japan and in Indonesia. Can you share some information with us?
Yeah, Indonesia, we give a climate field school to coffee and cacao farmers. This originated from the rice farmer 10 years ago, but the last 5 years we focus more on the coffee cacao. So we give a training program with coffee cacao farmer. And in 2019, we had a student symposium with 5 high school in Bali. We wanted to do that last year, but unfortunately, Corona pandemic happened, so we could not do that. So this is what we do in Indonesia. Then in Japan, I gave every Friday I give a sustainability lecture to Japanese high school, which is, I mean, good thing is the high school is already online high school. So it's easy to, you know, the student already used to with this online lecture. So roughly 200 students participate every Friday. And there are many campuses across in Japan. Then, so what they do is I give a framework how to achieve SDG sustainability project, and so every week I give lecture, and they make some output based on my lecture. So the original program was to make a sustainability mask. So
you mean
what we
like the coronavirus masks?
Yeah, corona mask.
Okay.
So you know, it's for example, so many disposable masks, and then also everyone wear mask. Is there anything we can do? The interesting thing is some people make the mask with some characteristic of the nation. So it looks like India, looks like France, and then the reason she make is she is half Chinese, half Japanese, and she fears some discrimination sometimes. So she makes a mask which reduce the discrimination. So it's more cultural experience. Some people
expression.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Some student idea about the like growing mask. So because she like music, but all like music house, clubbing places, like amateur band playing, those places closed during pandemic. So she come up idea, the mask maybe people can enjoy, like while social with a social distance. So this is growing at night, but at the same time you can go to those clubbing place and enjoy the music.
So it's
so
a glowing
so,
mask could be used as a torch as well.
Yeah, like so
save energy.
Yeah, I made this this sustainability framework, 5 step of a sustainable framework. Student. So now they go beyond the sustainability mask. So some people working on the food waste loss program. Some people as a reusing textile projects. Yeah, so as well as this, we also give high school student about online training, virtual tour, virtual environment tour in Bali. Also now we providing official university curriculum to some university in Japan. So university students participating our class, then they get the credit, university credit. So this is something we do. So I want to do this in European country as well. So if you know some university interested to work with us, let us know.
I will let them know. I know that you actually invite students to come to Bali for an internship, and
Yeah.
I know that you are a very good tutor, and people follow you. So and so many people would love to live in Bali, especially nowadays. Can I ask you, how is the tourism situation affecting Bali at the moment because of coronavirus restrictions? Do you see
Yeah.
less people, or do Balinese suffer from not having tourists around, or are you personally happy because the beach is empty and you can surf without any people disturbing you?
Yeah, I think at least 90% less than normal year. Yeah, so it's affected, totally affected. Some like heavy tourism area was it's kind of ghost town. So I mean, Balinese are affected, of course, but it's also time for Balinese thinking something other than tourism, because this tourism was a bit unsustainable. Infrastructure investment is not so, I mean, didn't catch up with the increasing demand. Even TripAdvisor, I checked that. I mean, this even the #1 destination in the world is Bali. After pandemic, where they want to travel, the Bali is at the world #1 destination. So I think it will come back, but infrastructure is not enough. Road is narrow, even water issue, electricity issue. I mean, many even hospitals. So I mean, maybe good time improve the infrastructure, which and it helps um, tourism after the corona, but also the maybe help other business activities. Because, for example, my place has lots of digital nomad people. So the place I especially call the village or town I live in Bali is called Canggu. So this is now I saw that #2 in the world, right? Like I mean, in terms of the digital nomad. So there's a website that saying that digital nomad ranking is Canggu is the #2 in the world. So I see that many young Westerners, I mean, work as a digital nomad here. So I'm digital nomad. I think most of the people, maybe influencer, while working on the Instagram kind of things, but possibly other type of business possible, like startup, like more digital economy, programming, this kind of things could be possible if we have right infrastructures. So maybe, Bali, it's time to think about other than just normal tourism activities.
So what you're saying is, post-corona or during the pandemic, Bali should invest more in infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
chance to, because now not much car on the street, so it's easy to expand. For example,
with less people
like
at the moment visiting Bali.
less people. So it's better, easier to improve maybe road infrastructure. Also, some expanding the road. Maybe some people accept this kind of things because anyway, it's some area is total empty. Street is like just a series of empty stores.
May I ask, let's go back to coffee and cacao farmers, because you've mentioned an interesting argument that perhaps tourism is not the only, should not be the only commodity. Is there any potential in coffee and cacao farmers? I've heard, and I remember the taste of Balinese coffee is really very rich. They do a very special coffee.
Yeah, specialty coffee could go even $500 per kilo. So now, like cheapest coffee is like 50 cents. 50 cents. So you can go 1,000 times more. So the one I buy to farmer is like $5 per kilo. So still like 100 times you can increase. If you there's chance you could improve. It depends on the marketing, improve the quality. So, but this is for many other products, like Balinese beans, because Bali has such a nice brand. So you could improve. In fact, now in Japan, agriculture is a very profitable business. Many young people moving into the agriculture, not only the people, also the companies. Like even Toyota started agriculture business in Japan. So if it depends how you brand, how you increase productivity and quality. I think it's still has a lot of margin to improve. And also, not only one good thing is Bali is not only just selling coffee. You can connect to with agrotourism, so it's a double income. You may be able to achieve it double income.
Talking about tourism and sustainability and also agriculture, could you explain the concept of sustainable production and consumption, and perhaps share some light on what you're doing in your venture?
Sustainable agriculture. Yeah, I mean this is a broad field. But something I might be relevant is maybe coffee, cacao production. It's I mean demand of chocolate is increased. I mean coffee as well.
So could you explain the concept of agriculture, production and consumption, sustainable agriculture, production and consumption, and also the philosophy of think, do, and be?
Okay, concept of sustainability, I mean consumption and production. I mean this. I mean easy example is the palm oil. Palm oil is it's a I mean palm oil itself is, I mean it's not the evil, production. It's a problem. Is it's not produced sustainably. But at the same time, one of the issue is too much demand. Right? So need to think about is how to find alternative for compared to the palm oil, because at the end people still using I mean even Europe try to prohibit it as a palm oil as a energy, but you still use for the cosmetic and food production. So so not only about the production side, also the consumption side. I think same issue might be applicable for the cacao. For example, cacao demand is increasing. So I mean now people. Not many people complain about cacao, but if keep like, its demand is increasing like that, cacao could become like palm oil as well. So I have to think about both consumption side as well as production side. And philosophy of think to be, I mean, I work as a researcher, and one of the idea come from when I had a project in South Africa when I was working for SEI, and one village lady told me, "Don't just study, but do something." So this philosophy come from this. So we do research, and then the scientifically proven information we utilize by ourselves to run a business. So this is the do part. Also, we educate people. So this is a B part. Educate ourselves. Also, we make an educational program under this thing to do be philosophy.
So that's really interesting because you're lowering, you're basically, you're putting all together. It's not about research only. It's the practice as well, which you do. And that's really beautiful because if you have passion to do research on something, you should also have enough passion to do something because, one pushes you to do another. So sort of a natural way, but such beautiful concept. So what actually is your research and what is that you do? Can you explain in 2 sentences, if possible at all?
What research? I have 2 European Commission projects now. It's both decarbonization, and we use a case in the biogas, compost, maybe agroforestry, and then wine is more for the social and the political issue. So this is tipping plus, and another one is landmark, which is more technical one. And also we have Japanese government with a smart glass. Use IT technology to improve in cacao farmers. So this is not only research, it's actually activities. So we are signing at the project with the European government. We not signed, so I'll not mention the name, but this we plan to connect this biogas together with carbon setting with blockchain. We may have another project, but we'll see.
I will ask you one last question, which is related to implementation of Paris Agreement. I know that you are not a UN climate negotiator because I know your work, but as a top scientist in what you're doing, I was wondering what is your take on are there any roadblocks for implementation of Paris Agreement globally? Having in mind coronavirus pandemic at the moment, what, in your opinion, could be a roadblock for implementation of Paris Agreement?
I mean, biggest one is mentality, I think, because 2020, we see that first time at last, I think 15 years. I think now carbon emission level going back to 15 years ago. So before Corona, everyone said that we cannot, not possible to reduce CO2, but in fact we could. So, of course, including me, I affected economically. So biggest blockage is a mentality. People do not believe possible, but in fact it's possible.
So mental block being the only one, in your opinion, the mentality.
Yes, because it's actually possible.
It's if we want, we can do it. That's
possible. People don't believe it.
So we have to basically think, do, and be. If we will, take your philosophy, that will be the way to go about it. Thank you very much, Dr. Takeshi Takama, a Japanese researcher living in Bali, Indonesia, and doing some wonderful research but not only research, he also implements issues that he researches on, so solutions. And I thank you very much. We send our best regards to you and your family and all your friends in Bali.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.